We're just moments away from President Trump's meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The president bringing his America First message to the G-20 in Hamburg, Germany. My next guest says that mentality is rattling Europe. Let's bring in Eric Bolling, co-host of The Specialist and author of the new book, The Swamp, Washington's murky pool of corruption and cronyism and how Trump can drain it. And maybe, Eric, they hear that and that scares them over in Europe, too.
Well, isn't it nice that President Trump gets to get away from the swamp for a little while?
It's a different swamp.
Well, you know, I watched that Poland trip, that Warsaw, Poland stop over in the speech, and boy, it was really uplifting to hear those Polish people give him such a warm welcome. I thought the speech was fantastic, a great way to set up what he's dealing with now. He goes to the protesters in Germany. He's got to sit down with Merkel, who's going to give him a little bit of a cold shoulder on the Paris Climate Accord. But think about what we've had for the better part of 8 years. We've had President Obama, who, you know, you don't want to go out and say he apologized for American exceptionalism, but he certainly wasn't as proud of American exceptionalism as Donald Trump is. So this is a different G20 who are meeting a different American president. I think what President Trump brings is America first, but America with the rest of the world. And I think you'll see it. President Obama gave $150 billion to the Iranians to go play with their nuclear systems. He got us in the middle of this Paris Climate Accord, which is a very, very bad deal for America. I think Trump will go ahead and say, we'll come back to the Paris Accord, the Climate Accord treaty, if we get a better deal. I mean, the deal was really, really rigged against us.
It benefited other countries.
We were going to pay for other people's pollution for the next 13 or 14 years, including China and Brazil, and we're competing with them on a global stage for the world's business. So they put us at a competitive disadvantage to those two countries. Put us at the equal table, and I think Trump will say, you know what, we'll get involved with this if they do.
Well, and you've seen the protesters there. I mean, it's gotten violent. And the theme of the primary protests are welcome to hell. Those are the signs that they're using. They say essentially they don't think that these G20 countries should be making decisions for the rest of the world. Anti-capitalism, anti-U.S. Those are all kinds of unpleasant things to face, whether you're the president or a leader of another country walking into this situation.
Yeah, and I think Trump is getting a little extra protest. The crowds are getting a little bit bigger. They're getting a little bit more violent. By the way, I don't call them protesters. Let's call them what they are. They're rioters. They're anarchists. They're throwing things. They're breaking things. I think Trump is getting more of this because he does things like pulled us out of TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, these trade agreements which benefit other countries, not America. Free trade agreements aren't free trade. They're trade agreements, they're constricting trade. Free trade is when we say, as a country, let's do a deal with you, any country, Mexico, Brazil, China. Those are bilateral trade agreements where we can negotiate in the best interest of us. Free trade agreements like NAFTA and TPP say, you know, America, you're the biggest producer and you're also one of the biggest consumers on the planet. We want to feed off both of those, and other countries get a better deal than we do. We should be demanding the better deals on a bilateral basis. So when Trump pulls out of trade agreements, the rest of the world goes, hey, what about us? Well, it's time for America first, and I think that's really good for positive, certainly good for our economy.
Well, you talked about how this is such a contrast to the last 8 years, because there were a lot of people and countries around the world who were very accepting of the way that President Obama did things. They liked the conciliatory tone. Some of them liked the feelings of apologies. And so this is such a stunning contrast to them that they seem just unable to kind of process it.
Well, you know, they say you can't get the genie back in the bottle. Once you give it away, it's out there, and they talk about, like, redistribution of wealth, welfare, food stamps and whatnot. What Trump is doing, he's putting the genie back in the bottle. And genie being American wealth and largesse, we've been giving it away to everyone. Everyone came knocking at the door. Sure, yeah, we'll take care of that. We'll pick it up. We'll pick that up. You have an earthquake over there. That's fine. Foreign aid. We were giving foreign aid away like it was water. Trump says, hold on. Let's pull back on some of the foreign aid. Let's do bilateral trade agreements, not multilateral trade agreements, which benefit the bilaterals benefit America more greatly. And I think our economy is very strong. You saw a jobs number come out today, stronger than expected. You look at a stock market that's probably 15% higher than the day he was elected. The labor market is one of the strongest labor market in decades. Home prices, wages, all these things are very, very positive. But you won't hear that if you listen to mainstream media news. You'll see the anarchists, you'll see the protesters. You hear about Bill de Blasio going to be the head anarchist over in Germany, when we have a lot of things going on right back here in the United States and in New York City. So, but if you focus in on what his real scorecard is, How are you doing as an individual, as a family? Are you doing better or are you doing worse? And the vast majority of Americans are doing better under President Trump.
How do you think that he navigates this to have the balance in the relationship where he says, I am about hire American, make American, America first, but also have these cooperative relationships with people like Angela Merkel who find him to be very abrasive. They're not happy about him pulling out of some of these deals. You know, how do you have that positive relationship while also being able to say, this is the country that I represent, and they're first?
And I think Donald Trump has done exactly what he said he was going to. America first. So yeah, we'll have negotiations with Germany, a very important trade partner. I get it, but it's going to be in the best interest of America. One of the first things Donald Trump did when he got into office was he started rolling back regulations. If you peel that onion back a little bit further, you realize that a lot of the regulations he rolled back were around the energy markets. Look at what he's done and what we've done in America around the energy markets. We've unleashed jet fuel to our economy because lower energy prices are great for the economy. If you remember 2004, 2005, 06, when energy prices were spiking $150 a barrel, almost everything you did, if you went on an airplane, if you bought a bottle of water, everything had a fuel surcharge to it. That was strangling American businesses. Our economy took a dive. When you open up energy markets and prices for fuel go down, the whole economy just takes off. I think that is the secret jewel to what President Trump has done since he's been in office. He opened our energy markets up to the point where we're exporting energy. We've never done this before. We're sending liquefied natural gas to Poland. You know who that bothers?
Russia.
Russia. Russia is the world's gas station, and Russia wants to sell the world gas and oil, and if we're doing it, that doesn't benefit Russia. It certainly benefits America.
Yeah, and sometimes people glaze over a bit when you talk about regulations, but they're such a part of our lives that they cost the American family, I think the estimate is about $15,000 a year. So when you start to roll those things back, not only in the energy sector, but in other places, it's going to show up at the grocery store and everywhere else that you're spending money as a consumer.
Again, energy, yes, you fill up your gas tank, sure, or you heat or cool your home, yes, but also you just pointed that out. You buy a tomato. That tomato was produced on a farm that uses a lot of energy to produce that tomato. So when the energy prices go down, the prices of just about everything in your economy goes down. The cost, the input cost. That means producers are going to get a fatter margin. They'll be able to hire more people, put more money into their plants or their farms. Energy prices are I think the linchpin to the American economy, and Trump recognized that early, freed that up, and I think that is most of the reason for such economic upside we've seen in the last 6 months.
Do you think he's going to be able to win over any of his critics, or do you think he cares about that?
Well, so here's the question. You take the critics, okay? I mean, a lot of the reporters, the media reporters who are his biggest, harshest critics, who do they represent? They represent a group of people, the audience, right? Ask the audience members how they feel. How are their families doing? How's their 401k? Can they go out to dinner? Can they bring your family out to dinner? Can you buy an extra thing or two? How are your wages? Have you looked at your wage report recently? Are you working more? Has your home price gone up? Every aspect of economic life in America has gotten better. I'm not just being Pollyannic. I'm literally trying to find one thing economically that's gone negative in the last 6 months, and I can't. And you can't credit Barack Obama. I've said this on TV a bunch of times, and people go, oh, Bolling's crediting Trump for all this economic success. All that groundwork was laid by Obama. Investors in stock markets, investors in homes, people buying things for themselves. If you own a business, you have a small business, you hire people based on the future, the outlook for potential earnings going forward, not the past. Had nothing to do with the past. Has everything to do with, are you confident about the future? And if you are, you buy more homes, you buy more plants, you hire more people, and that's economic growth. So I credit Trump with all this. You can't credit Obama with this. He has nothing to do with this latest massive upswing in the economy.
And we see a direct correlation on many days when we're here and these markets open and we're covering stories about, oh, it looks like tax reform is not going to happen or it's going to be delayed. We see an immediate reaction from the market. So it's clear that they are responding to the policies of this administration, what they're hoping to accomplish on the Hill. And they have gotten a lot of things passed. The president has signed all kinds of bills. You're not going to hear about those. But the Veterans Administration and many other things that were designed to help the people that he lobbied for and voted for him.
He promised. So, he promised to drain the swamp.
Yeah, I mean, those things are getting done, but there's still a lot of work to do. What do you make of where we are now with health care? Because hearing now from Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell that maybe this thing is not going to get done.
I hope it doesn't.
But it's been a major promise for 7 years.
I know, Shannon. This is one of the areas I've been, on the Trump side of things since he was candidate Trump, and prior to that, I think this is one of the mistakes that Trump made, but I don't blame him 100% because if you remember the House bill, this all started with the House bill. Paul Ryan in leadership said, we have this for you, Mr. President. We got a bill that America likes and we can get through the House. He was wrong on both of those. The problem is the Trump administration believed Paul Ryan at the time. He should have just put that aside and worked on the things that Americans on both sides of the aisle can wrap their brains around tax reform. You can get that through, and if you add in infrastructure, you got a real political currency to use going forward.
All right, we got to leave it there. Good to see you, Eric Bolling. Thank you for coming in, and we know the book is doing really well.
Just hit the New York Times bestseller list.
Exciting news. All right, so thank you for your time this morning.